Hey everybody, welcome back to TLDM, a podcast where two DMs are both managing and playing each other's games inside one world.
Yep.
How's it going, Alan?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
I like your thermal shirt.
Thanks. It feels wildly inappropriate for the weather today.
Yeah, it spiked so hard. It's really nice outside.
It's really nice in Chicago right now, which is where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky us.
Yeah.
We have a couple of things we want to talk about today. And I think first we'll start with a brief
Summary
campaign
of where
catch-up.
we're at.
Yeah. Try to keep it short. And a thing we have to talk about today, or wait, did we talk about this last time? The third campaign?
We talked about it briefly, yeah.
Okay. It's been 2 weeks since we last recorded, I'm like a little behind on where we're at.
Yeah, my schedule didn't allow us to record last week, and so now we're a little off our game. Also, because last week was a fairly substantial week of games in our campaigns.
Yeah.
So the fact that we didn't get to immediately decompress about it, I think, puts us up in our
noggins. I'm trying to remember what we talked about last episode, so I don't talk about that, and also feels like so much has happened.
Yeah, let's just dive into what's happened.
Yeah.
I'll try to do a quick summary of the Sharon campaign.
Great.
And then we'll dive into yours. So in the Sharon campaign, Soaking Paw, Brightcliff, Alan's character, Mark McGrath, Jeff Murdoch's character, and Eon, Aaron Rain's character, all they had escaped from the burning wreckage of a building complex that was destroyed by a pyromancer who they discovered they knew from previous encounters.
Ooh.
He was a person they had mistakenly freed, thinking he was being needlessly vanquished. But au contraire, it turns out he was being only correctly vanquished, and since then has become a bit of an arsonist / serial killer. He got the best of them. They managed to get out through some very lucky rolls and fudges, and Soak saved the day. They got out. Then they were taking the burned, almost beyond recognition body of the small girl they had been trying to save back to Niebridge's house to show to DeMarcus, the uncle of said little girl. And it quite cleverly used minor illusion to make the body look like a rug that happened to be dripping ichor and other viscous fluids through the city. And then our entire campaign really turned on a dime when they set it down to show it to Mark McGrath because he woke up, and they were showing the body, and a passerby came up and asked what they were looking at. And somebody, I won't say who.
It was me.
Somebody immediately stabbed this passerby to death.
Dude, there were just so many ways that could have gone permanently wrong for us that I felt like I didn't have any choice.
Yeah, totally.
Even if it was like, oh yeah, you saved them from this guy, oh wow, you pulled this dead body out to pay respects and let the family bury or whatever. There were so many questions that could have led back to how we let this criminal loose. So, we are basically accessories to everything that he did since then. Also, our characters at this point were very jumpy.
Yeah, they were all coming down from nearly dying and a lot of drugs.
So many drugs.
Yeah.
The amount of the sheer number of drugs. We should change the name from the Sheeran campaign to the Sheer Drugs campaign.
Yeah, right.
Because our characters are neck deep in
drug addiction,
the drug industry, period.
Yeah, it's true. And then to add insult to injury, very literally, a second passerby came over to see what had just happened to the old man who fell over. And then Soak stabbed her as well.
Sorry.
In what I'm going to charitably say is a PTSD-esque fugue state, although we both know that was very calculated on his part.
It was a combination of jumpiness and pre-calculation.
Yeah. I think charitably you've said that given that he was raised in a hobgoblin lawful evil society, he's going on his base instincts of what is culturally like his culturally normative for what he's experienced so far.
No, I don't even think that. I think what's happening is, and we came to this conclusion later on. So spoiler alert, we've just decided to be criminals.
Yeah. So you guys brought the body back. Zhang, who is the quote friends with DeMarcus, thanked you guys. You went out. I don't quite remember everything else that happened.
We went to Bertha's Dishes.
That's right.
No, Beverly's Dishes. Sorry. Beverly's Dishes to get some sweet fish tacos.
Fish tacos.
And we decided every time we go to that place, it's like it's our central perk.
Yeah.
In that campaign, it's where we go to hang out. And every time we go there, I just in real life want fish tacos badly.
That's great. I think they're disgusting.
Really?
Yeah,
oh, wow. You're
just don't like
so
fish.
Wrong. You're so wrong. You just got to get them done right. You don't like fish at all?
I don't really like fish.
Oh, what a shame.
It's oily.
No, not always.
It has a taste. It tastes like the sea.
It tastes like fish, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't, there's no way I can convince you that fish tastes good if you're like, it tastes like seawater. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast.
That's like if I was like, I don't like peanuts because they like taste like the earth. And then you were like, oh, then there's no way I can.
Or like I don't like beef because it tastes quadrupedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that quadrupedal taste, though.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Quadrupedal burgers.
Oh, yum, yum. Yeah, so you guys, and
we hooked up with our criminal contact buddy there.
You hooked up with your criminal contact. You guys did some stuff. You met with Broth Cloggerman, the booking agent for the Improv Gladiators at the arena. You had a harrowing battle. And then
shit got real.
And then we really took another turn when the drug addictions led to another overdose for Eon. And in this round of overdosing, Eon basically became homicidal.
I've never laughed harder in a session than I laughed at this session.
You guys, it was real slap happy. It was very entertaining for me because I didn't do anything for a good 15 minutes.
It was so fucking funny because Eon...
It was just PvP, player versus player. Eon... trying her best to take down Soaking Paw and Mark, who didn't get it for a really long time. She was kicking him in the nuts. She was
because we don't know, to be clear, like we in character and out of character, we didn't know the like
you guys
rules
don't know the
or
rules.
effects of like rolling badly on your recovery table for drugs for happies,
right? And then we got to do my one of my favorite things to always do in any campaign, which is write a note to a player
and pass it to them.
She that they played
then have to do. The shit out of it, too.
So so there was a lot of fighting, and then it kind of resolved itself eventually, and we learned a few.
Well, we had to literally knock her out.
Yeah, you did, but you did.
But we did
eventually.
We tried for so long to avoid. It was just so funny because we tried for so long to not have to resort to that.
Yeah.
That we were trying to like appease her. We were like, oh, she'll come down in like a minute. So like, she was like, Mark, I'm gonna kick you in the nuts, and she like started running at him and was like giggling and like slap happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, Mark, if you just let her do it.
Yeah.
Like, and of course Jeff was like, no, you let her kick you. And then so we had this weird like wrestling match where we were trying to like shove each other in her way.
Yeah, shove each other's testicles in her path.
And then she did kick at us and it didn't help, and we were like, okay, well we just gotta make this stop for like a minute.
Yeah. And then after you guys did, I'm just gonna go through quickly. So you succeeded. You Broth Cloggerman let you guys know that in 2 days you're gonna be Improv Gladiators in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And then separate from that, there was as we came down from the drugs, there was a series of reveals that happened. Mark McGrath revealed that his real name is not Mark McGrath, it's Milo Goodbarrel. Which
I already knew because I DM'd the character,
right?
But in character, mind-blowing revelation.
Yeah, very mind-blowing. One of many. We also discovered that Soaking Paw is married.
Which I didn't know. Which
you didn't know. And we discovered that Eon is actually a reincarnation of a human man named Ron Trundle. And Ron Trundle got reincarnated into the form of an elven woman.
Mm-hmm. And is much more comfortable that way.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
his true identity. Yeah. And she also quit her job as a spy for the elven nation of Hydedale.
Yep.
Hydeland. So the group, and then the group just decided to form a criminal syndicate.
Yeah, we were like, forget this. We've tried, it was a real taxing day, top to bottom. And we just hit a point where we were like, it was interesting because I felt like it was character motivated because we were like, you know what? We tried for weeks now to fit into this like human society with their human rules and do like things, when in Rome sort of deal. And it is just nonstop backfired for us.
Yeah, your actions were not well met.
No, they were not well met. Yeah. And we were like, fuck it. If we can't be accepted when we play by the rules, we'll make our own rules.
Yeah, it was very much Two-Face in the Dark Knight Rises.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the second one?
No, Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, yeah. If it was just like push someone to have the worst day of their life.
And see what happens.
See what happens.
And we saw what happens.
Yeah, so now we'll see the fallout from that. So let's switch over to the Pelinda?
Yep. Pelinden?
The Pelinden
campaign. So, the party has been hanging out in Stesso for a couple of days, which is sort of like our de facto town zero.
For the time being.
Yeah, we really started out up the coast in a town called Beggendale, but we didn't spend much time there. So Stesso has become our sort of home base of late. And the party has honestly changed the entire political structure of the town.
I was pretty pleased with what we did.
It was, and we talked about this after the session, it was the exact opposite trajectory of what the Sheeran campaign shenanigans have been. Because our group, Eon and Soak and Milo or Mark,
don't get him killed. Call him Mark.
Sure, you're right. Sorry, he wouldn't want me to spread that around. The three of us have been like trying so hard to like do good and just fucking failing. Or at very least, we're like, I don't know. We do what we think is best.
Really, you've been trying so hard to do what people have told you to do.
Yeah, and we just screw it up constantly and like ruin things and are bad at it. And then we were like, forget it. We'll just do our own thing. And the group in Polindo, I think, has kind of the opposite thing where they're like, we'll just kind of do whatever we want. And then they just like end up in situations where like an opportunity presents itself to like, I guess we could be heroes here. And then they do it.
Yeah.
And it works out for them. This is great. So they decided to continue their investigation of this werewolf mystery, which since we didn't talk about that because we missed last week. So,
so there's a werewolf mystery.
There's a werewolf investigation. There's sort of like this chain of wolves, chain
of werewolves
that have been affecting this town since the Cure cover band Wince and Trell have come through and kind of bitten people on their quest for who knows what they're trying to do.
Which what I love is I missed the session originally in which Wince and Trell were introduced. But also the character that Leslie Bad Apple, who prefers to be called Les, has not met them either. So like I, both in and out of character, get to be like, I actually don't know these people at all. So like, will you guys fill me in? Is very entertaining to me.
Yeah.
It's like really fun to be like, I actually am only able to know what you guys are referencing. Like I'm only picking up scraps of how we know these people. It's very fun.
And then I was going to be like, well, you met him in the Feywild and then you didn't because you missed. That was the only other one of that streak that you missed.
Yeah.
It's almost like maybe you are one of them because you're never in the same room with them at the same time.
Whoa, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
I'm a werewolf.
I mean, this is something for me to think about now.
Yeah.
But they've continued their investigation and kind of closed the loop on it in a pretty fantastic way. They went and they broke into the keep so they could get to the jail and interrogate a man named Targo Turelian.
Yeah.
Targo Turelian. Everyone has a theme song in my world.
Yeah.
And they, after interrogating him, they learned that one of the ways that this cult apparently entices new followers or like gains favors is by making offers to people who have lost something or like are ill or like what have like
people who need something.
Situational needs that would require like supernatural solutions.
Yeah.
And Targo's was that he wanted his arm back. His arm was ripped off in combat and it caused him to lose his job working as a mercenary, which was the only thing he ever loved. He's a very deep three-dimensional character that I developed
completely spontaneously.
He's a beautiful, living, breathing person.
Well, not so much now.
Not anymore, but he was, and
I liked Targo a lot.
He was cool.
Yeah.
And I had no idea he was going to be important until you guys just decided to talk to him in the bar.
Yeah.
But that's the fun of DMing.
Yeah.
So they discovered this, and they were like, okay, well, now what happens? And they were like, we have to get rid of this arm. Well, first they cured him of werewolfism or lycanthropy, which is why the town isn't doing that on a regular basis is still very strange.
Les was very upset at the cleric of Palor who tried to cure a horse instead of a person from lycanthropy.
She likes horses.
I get it, but Les doesn't.
People have different wants and needs.
Yeah, true.
She's also an elf, so she's like,
a little
horses over humans.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were like, we have to do something about this arm. So of course, Falkern Frostbeard, self-appointed king of the dwarves, has decided that her only course of action was to chop off the arm.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. Well, first we tried to reverse we tried one of the new Unearthed Arcana spells.
That's right.
And we tried to do a ceremony to reverse the
alignment,
and it failed by one.
That's right. Yeah, it was really sad.
Which was really sad.
It was a day of dicey dice.
It was. For sure.
So something else to point out that this whole time, the reason they were able to break into the keep is they pulled a Star Wars New Hope setup where Activia disguised self to look like a guard in the town named Jerry, and then accidentally made Jerry like everybody's favorite guard in town. Which will come into play in a little bit.
Yeah.
So after failing to chop off the arm, a shadow demon. It turns out that a shadow demon was Targo's arm.
Yeah.
And climbed the rest of the way out of his body,
which was a terrifying image.
It was horrifying because Falkern tried to chop through it, and the arm became incorporeal at the last moment, and the axe just kind of like woof through it, like it was chopping through mist or clouds. And then this demon popped out and snuffed all of the torches in the room, so the room went pitch black, and no one could see. And it was like the thing went down pretty fast, but I think it was a tense but quick battle. I don't know. That's what I was shooting for.
Yeah, it was.
It was also the party's first direct face-to-face encounter with the demon.
Yeah,
and I think they were like, oh wow, this is different than what we're used to, because not all of their spells worked, and their weapons didn't seem as effective, and the thing had like strange, the way it like dealt damage to them was different and strange, and it did a lot of it very quickly, notably knocking down Activio with her pants down, literally.
Right, because her poisonous gas is shoots from the back end. Yeah,
she Becca, who I think we're gonna have on the show fairly soon, has interpreted Stinking Cloud to legitimately be a magical fart.
Yeah.
So she literally takes her pants down and moons people to shoot steamy yellow gross poop cloud at them. So that all happened, and in causing all this ruckus in the keep, the rector of the town came down to see what was going on, and Jerry, having saved the day, quote unquote Jerry, was promoted basically to be the head of the guard with some pretty slick charisma rolls.
Yeah, and some selling out of the current head of the guard.
And who is bad. He's not a good... Yeah. I mean, he's not a bad man, but he's not a good...
He's incompetent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the Dogberry of this world. Dogberry, guys, look it up. All right. Shakespeare. So... They convinced this guard, or they convinced the rector to promote Jerry the guard, and then in I think a brilliant move, they requested
Yeah, this was my finest, like, being Machiavellian
It was
in or outside of a game that I've ever had.
pretty sweet. So they requested that as the new head of the guard, Jerry take a handful of personally picked guards out of town and go through the portal into the Feywild to investigate all this werewolf and demon stuff.
Knowing that time works differently there, so he'll be gone for a
For
while.
a long time.
Yeah.
And furthermore, that if the Jerry in the room, Activia, handpicks guards, they could get rid of everyone, basically everyone in town who has been an obstacle for the party.
Right.
So tomorrow morning, Jerry's going to wake up with suddenly a promotion and orders that he's got to march into a portal and be like, what the shit is going on?
Yeah.
And then now the party gets to like work with guards who are amenable to working with
Yeah,
them
because we
and
also
who know what
got
they're doing.
the one guard, Skit, who is competent. We got him promoted to the
Like a deputy.
like
or-
the second in command.
Yeah.
Who will be like de facto in charge while Jerry's gone.
It was very slick. It was all very slick, and everyone had a hand in it, which felt good.
It was very fun.
And it just was like interesting. It was an interesting problem solving opportunity for them, and I feel like you got them. By them, I mean you. And you guys nailed it, and it was like super rewarding.
I mean,
to play it. I think
it is like that's why like Leslie is absolutely my favorite character, like favorite kind of character to play. I like playing characters who are almost genre savvy, but not in a way that breaks the game, but just in a way that is like it like actually stops to think about things.
Mm-hmm.
And is a way to like playing, like, for example, when we fought the demon, Leslie did a sacred flame or something, not sacred flame, but one of the spells that he has as a cleric that gave radiant damage to his attacks, because he suspected it would probably do damage to a demon or to whatever this thing was, which through context clues he was pretty sure was a demon. So I was able to play to play meta but not actually be meta.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't have to act dumb, like, or act like I don't know things that I know, but I also can like do it in a way that is true to character play and isn't being like, well, I actually know it's a shadow demon. Instead, just being like,
page
well,
100.
Yeah.
Well, it's more like 50 something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the page number.
Yeah.
If I knew what the page number was, then that's the next step of my DM journey.
Yeah. Which is always the most fun character-wise for me. Is to get to play someone who knows as much or roughly as much as I do about D&D, but inside the world.
Yeah. And then we ended the session. The party heard a rumor that Wince, the werewolf, has been hiding in one of two places, and they checked the first place, and it seems like it's going to be a dead end.
Well, and that was another moment of, I think, for me, was also very fun, like Machiavellian, like trying to manipulate the situation, because I'm not very charismatic, but where it was, because it was a magic library that has like high security, but lacks like high security potential, but lacks actual security. And so what we did was, when they wouldn't let us in to like talk to anybody, instead we just threatened to come in disguise and like basically attack the place, so that they went into high alert and shut it all down, so that then we would be like, cool, well, that werewolf can't get in there, or if she's in, she won't be able to get out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's taken care of, and then we just left, so we didn't have to actually deal with
it was pretty slick.
Yeah, it was like the equivalent of like, oh no, like the bad guy might be at the airport, we'll just put in a bomb threat, and
then
everything shuts down, and we don't have to deal with it.
And there's no risk of anything happening.
Yeah.
And then they went, so the other place they heard was the well under the town, because there's an aqua. The town is like sort of on a cliff that has a stream running, like an underground stream running through it, in an aquifer underneath. And so the town used to have a huge well that would go down deep into this aquifer to draw water from, but it has since been sealed. And they heard a rumor that the caverns underneath have become kind of like derelict and strange, and that this werewolf might be down there doing who knows what.
Yeah.
So they found a way in.
We did.
Abusing just a goofy like set piece that I had created that I didn't really mean to be important.
Right.
In the form of an animated statue that mimics people as they go by, and they tricked it basically. Well, not even tricked it really, because it's not like
it's not intelligent.
Yeah, it wasn't there to like do anything.
Right.
They abused it into punching a hole into the ground that created like a cave in to the aquifer, and are lowering themselves into their first, spoiler for you, I guess, their first major dungeon crawl.
Great.
Which I'm very excited about and has been a blast to design for the past like week.
Yeah, tell me about that. What's that like for you?
Well, without saying too much, because I don't want to give anything away, and we'll talk about it probably as we go through it on subsequent episodes. I imagine...
All right, so you're imagining this is going to be multiple sessions.
Yeah, if we get more than halfway, if you guys... I mean, I think if you blitzed it, you could get through it in like 2 sessions.
Okay.
Or if you just left.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing keeping you there, I guess. But I think if you guys went through every nook and cranny, it would take 3 sessions minimum.
Okay. Now, can I ask you a question about it?
Yeah.
That you obviously don't have to answer.
Sure.
In your mind,
let's talk about dungeon design.
Yeah, well, specifically to tie to other stuff. So we're going down there because we're like heard a rumor that there's a werewolf. And I'm just curious about this. When you design a thing that's going to take like 3 sessions, do you feel any obligation to have it pay off in terms of the original motivator? Like, do you feel any obligation to have the werewolf be down there?
No, I feel no obligation.
Or to have something equivalently important down there?
I mean, I think there should be things of interest.
Yeah.
Or if and not even necessarily to mean plot points or like narrative haul or anything like that. But yeah, you don't want your party to feel like I wouldn't anyway. It's just not the way I design sessions. I wouldn't want my party to feel like they spent a lot of time exploring this cool place and then they're like, oh fuck, we like wasted 2 days down here. Because that doesn't feel good. Right. But I do not feel any obligation to have the rumor be true. Like, that's just not how rumors work. Right. That said, I would like, just from a gameplay perspective, like if you guys didn't come out of it with new and interesting information or like sweet, fun new items or like, you know, having gained abilities or knowledge or status or something tangible that you can be like, we played through this dungeon and it was really fun and now we have this to show for it. Yeah. I think is important to me in terms of like putting things together. Yeah. That said, I did hide goodies down there. Cool. So heads up on that.
I will. Yeah, I feel like similar. I think for me with stuff like that, like stuff that is essentially a side quest or like a fairly significant shift of venue, that it is like a thing where it's like I feel like you either have it so that the players come out of it having gotten what they came for or something different but better. Yeah. Right? So that different. It's like if we're going for the werewolf, that we come out of it and it's like, oh, the werewolf wasn't down there, but what we got actually ended up being more important than this werewolf. And the werewolf is now like small potatoes because of what we got. Right. Something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's
some goodies.
There's some goodies and there's a lot to do down there. Great. And I think, let's talk item design. Okay. Because we have hit a point where we're starting to see magical items get obtained.
Otherwise known as my least favorite part of DMing.
Really?
Just because it takes so much work on your end as the DM.
How so?
Balancing for magic items is really tricky.
Oh, I don't.
Well, I know, but balancing for magic items in terms of party use is really tricky. Also because the thing of like say our party, or say like the shearing campaign, you're more like, if I put a goodie out, like say an immovable rod, like your eyes will light up.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah.
I'm melting right now.
Right. Katie's eyes are not as likely to light up. And if she had it, she would not care about using it. Then there's not a lot of things I can think of offhand that Katie would be excited about using. So then inevitably it shifts to you collecting more of whatever's there because you're interested, and then you just have more to do and she has less to do. So you have to like, I feel like there's a certain amount of balance of like making sure everybody gets something that they are very excited to use, to also kind of rope in players who are a little bit more passive. And it's just like, and also the flip side is like, if I give her something really cool and you get like basically nothing, it evens out a little bit, but you'll feel a little bit like, it kind of sucks that I'm like getting penalized for being a competent, invested player, that I'm not getting like a cool thing. So there's like a certain balance of like I think like giving Shava her tattoos, right? And then like if we never give Ian something, eventually Ian will start to feel that disconnect and whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, you have to keep distribution.
So it's distribution balance in terms of that is what it is. In terms of power balance, I always get more in my head about it until it's actually been handed out, and then I realize like nobody uses anything the right way anyway. Like, which is what's fun about it is like it doesn't matter at all because it's like, and I guess really mainly what it is like I just find mechanical like weapons to be like magic weapons to be kind of dull to me.
Yeah.
As opposed to like an immovable rod is like, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's like, I just want more
like utility belt
I like
stuff.
utility belt stuff.
Yeah. Those are always most interesting to me too.
Yeah.
I think I mean, there's like staffs and wands that do cool stuff, but then effectively you're just gaining access to spells like off the spell list. So I think something that kind of bugs me about the magic items that are listed in the DMG is that they're strict like stat boosts in most cases, including like wands and stuff, or like a necklace of fireballs. It's like, yeah, you get access to this level 3 spell.
Yeah,
here you go. It's like it's a stat. It's basically a stat increase.
Yeah.
Or like an objective like ability increase. Yeah. And then same with like the plus weapons or whatever, and you're like, oh, this is just straight up a stat. Like it. Yeah. I think so. In terms of designing items, which is something that I find super fun, is trying to find, and there's a double-edged sword to this as well, which I'll get to in a second.
Is that one of your magic items?
What?
A double-edged sword?
Yeah, the sword has 2 edges.
Whoa.
So when swinging with it, you can swing, and then if you have a second attack, you can backswing with it, and it won't take any damage off of it.
Wow. What, the person getting attacked doesn't take any damage off of it?
Huh?
Anyway.
So yeah, so I think the challenge is trying to design items that feel like fun and unique, and not like not just that they're strictly better versions of items that already exist or are like purchasable in a general store. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Or like a thing that you would have gotten if you'd multi-classed, or like I just want them to feel like things that are powerful and unique, and also not tremendously game breaking, because I don't want to spend time later on fixing my combat encounters because I'm like, okay, well, so and so has this, so I have to like blah blah blah. So trying not to create an item that is like sword. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now I'm fucked because I can't design encounters where, you know, such and such. So there's that. But then the flip side of that is like I designed something I thought would be cool and fun for Ian's monk character, and because it's a magic item, the party didn't really know what it was when they found it, and now Shava's just like wearing it as jewelry, and he's never touched it or used it.
Yeah, was he there?
He doesn't know.
He was there when we had it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's really funny.
So she's just like, she's been wearing it, and as a warlock, like she can't use it and has no use for it, and hasn't like attempted to attune to it or anything.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think that's the other part of it for me with magic items is they're it's obviously very fun, but it also becomes, it's a level of crunch because you have to like be looking at your inventory and like tracking it and everything else. And I think for me, I prefer if everybody gets one thing that like I forget what the term is. It's like a legendary item or something. That's not the right term, but like everybody gets one thing that grows with them and develops new abilities or something, so that it's like you don't have a bunch of different stuff. It's like you have a staff, and the staff does
like unlocks new
either unlocks stuff, or honestly, or it's like it just does one. I find it in practice. I find having like a staff that does a few, like one discrete sort of situationally appropriate thing is way more fun for people than having a bunch of stuff that is like like a drift globe and blah blah blah. It's like having a staff that like lets you float like a foot off the ground is like,
oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome, and will always be more interesting and more fun and create more memorable things than a staff of levitation or and other things. Is like a thing that is very situational because it emboldens creativity.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part.
Yeah, which is like, why I love the what is his name, J Words or whatever, the guy on Reddit that posted like the 100 magic items that are better than nothing.
Yeah,
because those are all great for that reason.
I made a random table out of that.
Yeah, cool.
Which I love. It's fun.
And I love using that as a base for thinking up items, just because he already does such a good job of using mechanics to create very situational, like interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say kerfluffles.
Yeah.
In the system.
Kerfluffles.
Yeah. Little tiny kerfuffles.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting though. Cause like, so do you design your own items as well? Or not so much?
Sometimes I do. Like one item I designed that I gave you in our email game, that I had designed in a previous one that I just loved because it was just like fucked up, was a torture scalpel, which was a scalpel that is a healing scalpel. So it does like the 1 point of damage and then heals 1d4 of damage. So you're always getting hurt and being healed at the same time, but not substantially or something like that. I can't quite remember what the mechanics were.
I think it's equivalent damage to healing. Otherwise, it would be like an unlimited, it's like stim pack.
Yeah, I think it was 1d4 of damage, 1d4 of health. So potentially you can it just is like a constant roll of the dice as to if you're getting healthier or hurt.
Right. Although easily abusable on downed characters.
Oh, I know. But also gives them 2 fail saves.
But then it instantly heals them, so they come back up no matter what.
But so you have to get to them before they've done any fail saves.
That's true.
Otherwise, but that was like I designed it to be.
But it's a solo campaign, so the odds of me ever using it that way are insane.
Although Kellen wants to join.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Anyway. So I had designed that for like a wizard who was doing like basically biological experiments, and so it was like he was torturing people to see what their responses was or something like that. So I like to design, but honestly, this time around, for some reason, I'm having a harder time like putting all of the mental energy into like deep diving into the mechanical side of DMing to the same degree. So I'm using a lot more shorthands to like cover my bases and stuff because there's just like so much out there that I find it as useful to me right now to modify existing things than to start from scratch.
Oh man. Yeah. Steal and modify is like,
that's your bread and butter.
That's anything creative at all is steal and modify.
Yeah.
And yeah, I find the best sessions I've ever done have been the ones where I've had to make up the most shit as I go.
Same.
Or the ones where I've either directly plagiarized or have taken ideas that I liked from multiple sources and then kind of like just
mashed,
like just grabbed them and fucking squeeze, like when you squeeze Play-Doh between your hands and it comes out of your fingers.
That's creativity.
That's creativity.
Yeah. But are you designing some items?
Yeah. I really enjoy
homebrewing?
designing. I love homebrewing items, and I think I fall into a trap where I'll hand something out, and then 3 sessions later I'll be like, ooh, shouldn't have given him that, and then it like I have to find a way to like
nerf it.
The most effective way I've found is just to be like, hey, Sarah, remember when I gave you that glove of infinite fire facing, which now is an item I'm going to make.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to be like, well, I didn't realize it was going to be so disgustingly overpowered. and it's just too good in too many situations. So I'm adjusting its effects to make it a little more balanced. And here you go. And I'll make it up to you in the future with like something else.
See, I like to do that, but what I also like to do, ideally, if you have the right player for it, is to be like, so I need to bring it down. What about this is cool to you? And then
that works
and then
too.
be able to be like, cool, so we can keep that. Because oftentimes, and this is because we play with improvisers over like min-maxers or like people who are at all competent in the game. Is that
that's a little harsh?
Well, I mean, more of like nobody is like
I don't know if any of them listen to this podcast.
Well, if they do, I'm saying they're better than the alternative. Because they play from a perspective of what's fun to play in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're role players.
Which is ideal.
Which is perfect. But so they're often like, yeah, I actually, like the Glove of Infinite Fireface, they'd be like, I actually just love that it makes my face turn on fire. Like that's the thing I find most fun about it.
Is that weird that I also assumed instantly that that's what it does?
Yeah.
Is you put it on your hand and it gives
just
you like a Ghost Rider head.
Yeah.
And then your headbutts, you become proficient with headbutts, and they deal like 1d6 fire damage or something.
Yeah, I was thinking it would just give you advantage on intimidation.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, you're using your Fireface as a weapon.
Yeah. See, I like it as it gives you
I think it would clearly give you advantage
on intimidation and a +1 to roasting marshmallows.
Yeah, just a +1?
That's huge in bounded accuracy.
I'm sorry, but to go from like no fire to a fire is like a plus infinity to roasting marshmallows.
Proficiency bonus in roasting marshmallows. Because also, it's hard to roast a marshmallow on your own head.
I disagree.
You can't see it.
What are you talking about? Your face is on fire. You hold it in front of your eyes.
Oh, I'm imagining, but the way that the flames work, flames go up. So I'm imagining you hold it above your head.
No.
You're like
it's infinite fire facing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I thought that just means it's on all the time.
Yeah. As long as you're wearing the glove,
yeah,
your face is on fire. Also, every round that you have the glove active, it deals 1d6 damage to you.
Oh, see, again, I'm thinking like continuous flame, the spell, but it's on your head.
More importantly, if you go underwater and you use it...
Oh, you infinite steam head.
You have infinite steam head. And you can breathe.
Yeah.
Because I know that doesn't make sense physically, but I think...
Because it boils the oxygen, makes it available.
Yeah, it's separating it.
That's the start of my new character, Steampunk.
Get out. I'm going to make that glove now. But yeah, I think... And then as far as dungeon design goes, I think like... making it because I love puzzles. I think puzzles and not like traditional puzzles or riddles where it's like a wizard has like inscribed a what walks on 3 legs by day, but like whatever, because those are like weird and cerebral, and I think they can sometimes like they're a mini game that like take you out of
they're not
the actual game.
They don't actually play to the characters, they play to the players,
right? Which I don't mind from time to time.
Sure,
if it's done right and it's fun enough, I think then who gives a shit. But I think at very least non-combat obstacles or like scenarios that require like planning or thinking or teamwork to overcome, more so than like a traditional like there's a blue flame and a green flame and like a stone and like that sort of stuff. I think, and like I said, those things are super fun, and I think if used correctly can feel like magical and awesome. Yeah. But also just as like valuable and viable are just environmental factors that are like, this room is full of like
frogs.
Water and or frogs. Like this room is full of frogs, and every time you walk, they like jump around and you can't see, and like you step on them and they squish and it's slippery.
Yeah, it's just gross and weird.
It's gross and weird, and it's like a specific environmental thing that you have to figure out how do you deal with this shit now.
And there's a blue flame in the corner.
What's the blue flame for? You know? But I find designing these things to be super fun, and I'm very I've never been more excited for a session than I've been for the start of this dungeon, because I think it's going to be
excited then.
Gross and creepy and fun.
That's great. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And on our
And we'll
end,
talk about it
yeah,
next time around.
we'll also talk about how successful you guys are about slowly taking over the criminal underworld of the city of Boston.
Which we actually have to end our podcast now to do.
Yeah. So let's see here. What's my catchphrase for this week?
Yeah.
Oh, go
While
ahead.
you're thinking of that,
Yeah.
go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe and a review.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I guess that's just the customary thing to tell people to do at the end of a podcast.
It is. Also, it just like it helps
Yeah, with visibility and stuff.
with visibility and letting us know that people are listening to this.
And as always, if you have anything that you want us to talk about or say, or, if you want us to acknowledge your existence or say your name or something,
Yeah, find us on Twitter.
find us on Twitter, TLDM Podcast. We'll we'll do whatever.
I kind of want to start a challenge at some point soon of coming up with almost like a round robin of who can come up with the best Dungeons and Dragons character name.
Okay, let's make that happen.
Yeah.
I've already posted our first DM challenge.
Yeah.
Check that out on our YouTube page. It's not really a challenge so much as a ambiguous situation that I think could be ruled several different ways. Check that out. I did forget to leave off that the character in question has Polearm Master and Sentinel.
Whoa.
I thought Polearm Master was implied, but it wasn't. So I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Check it out.
What's our catchphrase for this week?
Our catchphrase for this week is this. Hey, guys, if this week starts getting you down, you know what to do. Shield bash it.
Oh, baby.